Afternoon, APLers. Here with a Week 8 review. We'll get it done a day early here because the Monday night game was not too entertaining, and it's Halloween tomorrow, so I got some shit to do tomorrow night. So I'll get to it. So Tank and Daggy is the first matchup of the week here. This one went pretty much as expected. Tank comes away with a very easy victory over here over Daggy. Quick run through of the Daggy lineup. Stafford comes up with 196. He hurt his hand, broke his thumb or something there, so he came out early. But the offense just never really got going there. They got behind to the Cowboys by a ton early. It seemed like it might be a good garbage time game, but never really materialized. So 196 from Stafford is rough. I kind of trashed Daggy's running backs, switched them both out. Zach Moss was healthy and played. Had a nice game with 95. Josh Kelly gets swapped in for Zeke, gets 21. Zeke actually did better than him. And then I think I made a point that Pierre Strong was like the backup to the backup. But Pierre Strong actually had 83 points, so would have been a decent start. So, my bad on that one. Jordan Addison, another solid game with JJ out, 111 points there. Godwin had the 93 on Thursday night, which was good. Curtis Samuel didn't do much. Pitts didn't do much. The rest of the roster was all right, but 814 total for Daggy. Tank has another strong week here. Gino played the Browns, tough matchup. He got 294. That's fine against the Browns. Probably hoping for more from your quarterback, but it works for this week. ETN went nuts against the Steelers, both receiving and rushing. So 174 is a big number there. And Kamara keeps his obscene usage up there, so he continues to touch the ball a ton. Fewer receptions this week, only 4, but scored a couple touchdowns and had a nice game against that rotten Colts defense. Ayuk was fine. It's the Bengals, 114 points. Talked about Diggs a little bit on the preview show at 79 as a down week, and then Devonta has a good week. Finally gets over 100 points with the 126. Had a nice touchdown. The whole Eagles offense was just rolling this week against Commanders. They got off to a little bit of a slow start, but they picked it up after a while. Kelsey has a week with a 122. The whole Chiefs offense looked like shit against the Broncos. So, but just solid scoring throughout here for Tank. Kickers fine. Hoping for a little more defense is fine. 1240 is the number. It's a good number. Tank moves to 7-1. Tank drops down 8. Thought that Tank would win by 215, but actually wins by 426. So moving on to the next matchup. This is Jake against Today. So this is one of the ones that highlighted as a key matchup for the league. If Jake wins, he pulls even with Today and potentially with Ryan, depending on what happened in his outcome. If not, Today puts a little bit of a distance between them, and Jake comes out with the win here. Really fueled by a few guys, but Jake puts up a big number at 1308. In that Rams-Cowboys game that I just talked about, the Cowboys got out to a huge lead early, and Dak was just chucking it all over the place. So 418 for Dak is overachieving big time. Huge game. Kittle is the other highlight here. With Debo out, Kittle always seems to do very well. So 307 from Kittle. So you put the 307 and the 418 together, you're over 700. You got 725 points between two guys. It's going to be tough to beat. Throw in McCaffrey's 164, Jamar Chase's 122, and some odds and ends from the other guys here, and you got a nice number for Jake at 1308. So I think this is the scary part of Jake's team is there's guys there that could just go off, and when they do, it's a big number. So it's a nice win. On the Today side, he's got some big numbers too, and then some not. So I mean, the swing at tight end is just really hard to overcome. So Waller gets hurt and goes out early and only scores 9 points. I mean, the Giants offense, I think, had negative passing yards total for the game because Tyrod got hurt and then the backup was playing. So even if Waller doesn't get hurt, it's probably not a huge game for him, but it's just really, really, really tough to overcome that big gap at tight end. He gets good stuff from the Chargers guys. Herbert and Eckler ripped apart the Bears. Could have been worse if the Bears had any type of offense that was sustainable or could actually score points. The rest of the guys are just okay. I should highlight Waddle. Waddle had a good game, first big game of the year. Whole Dolphins offense really had a good game. So 148 from Waddle. Going with the Herbert and Eckler is decent, but the rest of the week is kind of a down week. The Tony Pollard trade is one of the highlights of the week, and in the first week, it's not paying off. I know Sade is not happy about that at all. Immediately regrets his decision on Tony Pollard, but a lot of football left, so we'll see how that one turns out. So, and this one I thought Sade would win by 44. Actually, Jay comes out with a healthy 298-point win here. I think in the preview I talked about this one kind of being reliant on certain games. So that Bengals 49ers game was one of them, and all of Jake's guys in that game crushed, did well. And then the game flow for that Rams and Cowboys game was another important part. So, it kind of goes the way that you think it should go for it to work for Sade, where Cowboys get out to a big lead, which should turn into Pollard running a ton and Nakua getting a lot of garbage time passing and Dak being kind of held back a little bit because they're not going to need to pass as much. And it went the opposite way. So it's really hard to figure out sometimes. And then the last game was the Chargers-Bears game, and Sade's guys did do well and DJ Moore didn't, but it didn't matter due to the Dak and Kittle games. So big win for Jake. Pulls even with Sade there at 5-3. And that'll lead us into the next one with Ryan and Greg. So I went with, I didn't put my stuff here, but went with Kirk as the background picture. Figured, one last time we gotta feature Kirk. That'll be his last time for this year that he's featured as the key contributor of the week, and potentially his last time as a Viking that he's featured there as well. So, so this one was a little bit interesting. So Ryan gets the 346 from Cousins. Obviously, AJ Brown, ridiculous again. 178. The guy's just been on fire all year long. And then Laporta has a nice night here on Monday night for 142. And the rest of it is really just decent performances. Jonathan Taylor had I think almost all of that 98 points, maybe all of it at halftime, and didn't touch the ball in the second half. So that could have been a huge game. Thielen had a down game at 80 points. The kicker chips in 77. Hunter was 60. Jordan Brooks is just all over the field for the Seahawks. He tackles everything. So really strong IDP performance there from Ryan too. Mostert down game at 66. And then Cooper Kupp, not really what Ryan's hoping for out of that trade with Kupp, but kind of even numbers here with the breakout games I shouldn't say breakout, big games from AJ Brown and Laporta. Get Ryan at 1183. Greg puts up a solid number here, but the story is probably what could have been. So Hurts is, after the first 2 weeks of being slower in production or lower point totals, Hurts has been ridiculous over the last last 6 games. He's been excellent. So paying off in the draft spot there. I critiqued the Gus Edwards start this week, and I was incorrect on that one as well. Gus gets 3 touchdowns and did very well against the Cardinals with 156. Thought that the Dameon Pierce start was the better start of those 2 guys. I was incorrect there. Pierce gets 46, still splitting some time with Devin Singletary, and Derrick Henry is just looming on the bench. He had a nice game. He was over 100 points there. And so there's one spot, throwing some Derrick Henry with some Gus Edwards, and we had some more points. The wide receiver spot, Nico Collins struggling to duplicate what he did early in the year. Olave had a bomb of a touchdown pass, just bounce off his helmet, or that could have been more. And then the other start that I questioned in the preview was Romeo Doubs. That one didn't quite pay off, and DeAndre Hopkins is sitting on the bench with a 3 touchdown game. I think he had 196 points. So I can't critique it too bad because Hopkins hasn't been great, and they're starting a rookie quarterback who seemed like nobody wanted in the draft. So it seems like a very risky start in Hopkins, but I'm sure Greg's thinking what could have been. If Hopkins was in the lineup, then Greg moves on with a win. Goddard was okay. The kicker whisperer picks up the Young Ho, and he has his best game of the year with 127 there. But in the end, Greg comes up just short with 1102. So Ryan win by 123. Ryan wins by 81 here. So nice win for Ryan to keep up with Jake and today in that division. So next matchup here is me versus Ross. So the Boot Barn got fucking hammered this week. So Lamar was shitty Lamar again with 212. Jalen Warren is 42 points is fine. He's the number 2 back behind Najee, which seems kind of weird, but he still is. As talked about in the preview, Rashad White, Gabe Davis, 116 for each of them is good. Josh Downs was solid again, not spectacular, but solid for the Colts there, catching a ton of passes from Gardner Minshew. DK had like a couple what could have been on long passes, but 72 is solid. And Njoku was kind of like the featured guy for the Browns and had a huge game, 178. He's available too. If you haven't heard that from Kevin, Njoku's available in the trade market. So Ross puts up 977. Really just let down by Lamar and maybe the number 2 running back spot to have a nice bigger week. So looking over at my totals here, Tua is good against the Patriots for 402. Cook and Walker, decent games, 74 and 71. Keenan Allen at 77. Oh shit. Oh, sorry, Ross. I didn't notice that. My backups would have beat you 11, 16, and 977. I'll switch that over. Whoops. To actual starting lineup. So there's Josh Allen, had a big game on Thursday with 446. Jahmyr Gibbs just went crazy on Monday night with 214. Sadly, he'll end up getting like 4 carries once Dave Montgomery comes back after the bye. Breece Hall ripped off a 50-yard touchdown reception. Otherwise was held in check all game, but he can do that kind of stuff. So I got 119. Tyreek had a 42-yard touchdown like right away and did his thing for the rest of the game with 140. CeeDee Lamb was career best 222. He was Dak's favorite guy. Fed it early and often. 2 touchdowns. Huge game. Fun to watch. Amon-Ra did his normal bunch of catches. Had one big long one tonight. Gets the 114. Mark Andrews was my worst tight end actually this week at 104. But we'll take it. Kicker, IDP, all solid. It's everybody hit this week for me. With 616 or 1616. Good week. Wish it was in the playoffs, not now, but I'll take it. Move to 7-1. Drops Ross to 2-6, and the fake Boot Barn would still not have won this week. So I was predicted to win by 329. I think I said in the preview it won't be 329. I was correct. It was almost double that. So, oh well. All right, final matchup. This was the other key matchup of the week here, Corey and Solomon. So Solomon comes away with a big win here to pull within a game of Corey and then to pull a game ahead of Ross and Greg for the last playoff spot. So looking at Corey's lineup here, Mahomes he looked like he had the flu. So he did not have like a Jordan flu game here. He looked really rough. Solomon and I were texting. Solomon said he looked like the worst he's ever seen him look in his career. And I think I'd agree with that. So 255 is a big letdown for Mahomes there. And then Devontae here on Monday night, if Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't his quarterback and somebody could actually hit a wide open receiver, he might have had like 200 yards or 200 points. He was wide open on a couple bombs that Jimmy G just didn't hit him on. So those are probably some what could have been. Jacobs was fine. Evan Ingram had a huge game, and the Lions kicked a shitload of field goals. So Corey comes up with the 1,012 points. Obviously, like I just talked about, lots of room for more points there if a couple guys would have performed better. Doesn't matter to Solomon. Solomon gets steady performances, I'd say, from pretty much the whole roster. So Trevor Lawrence, I wouldn't say got any fucking better, but still 336 is fine. Saquon, his 131 against the Jets, that game was like brutal to watch. And they punted like 22 or 23 times between them, but Barkley got loose a couple times to get up to the 131. Bijan, it's just getting Arthur Smith pretty bad there, but 82 points is fine. Amari Cooper is fine, 95. PJ Walker's still getting him the ball. Ridley actually caught a bunch of passes this week, so 89. Garrett Wilson looked good in that same Jets and Giants game for 113, and then Hawkinson again filling in the void with JJ out for 202 is the big number here. So Solomon did texted me after my preview show on Sunday and said, "You're correct. This is a big game, but you picked the wrong person to win," and he was correct. So I thought Corey would win this one by 57, but Solomon comes out with a 174-point win, and it's good. Makes things tight in the division. So we'll talk about the standings here in a minute. Go through the weekly top scores. Josh Allen at quarterback for the second time of the season here. Gibbs got the spot for running back with his Monday night performance. CeeDee Lamb, talked about that a little earlier, for 222. And then Kittle for 307 takes the crown away from Kelsey, who had it for 2 weeks in a row. The worst scores, Matt Stafford is on the list for the third time this season. Josh Kelly is on here for the second time this season. Devontae Adams was the worst at 12. Kind of weird to see Debo, Ridley, and Adams as the last 3 guys on there. Debo got hurt, but still interesting. And then Waller, another guy that got hurt, is the low tight end score for the week at 9. The weekly awards, MVP will go with Kittle. His 307 points fuels Jake to a big victory there. Without that Herculean effort, Jake might have lost. So go Kittle for the MVP. Rodder of the week, go Cooper Kupp. For Ryan, there's a few guys that could have filled that spot, but 25 points from Cooper Kupp is not really acceptable. It's not what you're expecting there at all. So definitely the Rodder. Greg owns the rest of the awards for the week. So the no shit award, may have talked about it in the preview that Gus Edwards and Dameon Pierce didn't make sense to start, but maybe this will work. And Gus Edwards definitely worked. So 165 points there is big. The one to done that is Romeo Dobbs. It just hasn't been consistent or good enough to have in the starting lineup this year, and should have is DeAndre Hopkins. So throw Hopkins in instead of Dobbs. Greg gets a win. It's not always that simple, but there's other factors. But if you look at that, just 1-for-1 swap is the thing. The would have been good at Shamrock Award for the week goes to Greg. He was the 6th highest scorer and came out with the loss. So could have played a few other people in, definitely. All right, so standings here. I did these myself, so I think everything's right, but the website's not updated yet. So there might be off on points or division records, but the overall records are good. So in Jake's division here, Tank's at 7-1. He's got a 2-game lead over the pack of 5-3 teams there. So Tank's looking good for a playoff spot. Oh, I mean, it's a 2-game lead, but his 5-0 division record definitely will help in 1-on-1 tiebreakers. And the point total is creeping up there. Pretty solid. So he's the 3rd highest scorer in the league right now. So the Sade, Ryan, and Jake combo there, they're all 5-3. The division records are there. Sade and Jake are tied at the 3-2, and Ryan's a little bit back with the 1-3. But when all 3 are mixed together, it all comes down to points, which Sade and Ryan are up a decent amount on Jake right now. But as we all know, there's a lot of football left. Daggy holding strong at the 0-8, 0-5 in the division. It's gonna wreck somebody's playoff hopes here at some point. One of these weeks, or maybe 2 or 3 of these weeks. We'll see. Down in Greg's division, I'm at 7-1, and the big week in points jumps me up to the top in points of the league. And then Corey's 4-4, Solomon's 3-5. So Solomon's win there evens things up a little bit. Gets Solomon back in the race, gets his division record a little better than Corey's right now, and their points are almost dead even. Kevin and Greg tied for the last spot. Kevin won the matchup between him and Greg, so he holds the tiebreaker right now for the 4 spot over the 5. But their points are really close too, and yeah. So looking forward ahead to week 9, we have Daggy versus Corey. So we're going division against division this week. No divisional games. So Daggy versus Corey today against the Boot Barn. So this is Ross predicted he would have lost his previous 3 games. So far he's 1-2. So we'll see if the fake Boot Barn would beat today this week. Tank and Greg go head to head, and then Ryan and Solomon and me and Jake. So some interesting matchups have, I'd say, decent implications in the playoffs here this week. So that's about all I got, and looking forward to waivers tomorrow night to see if there's anything fun out there that happens. I believe there's a Sam Howell out there who scored a shitload of points this week. That might be the guy that everybody goes for this week. And that's about it. So have fun with your kids on Halloween tomorrow. If you're out trick-or-treating, don't try to freeze your ass off too bad. And that's it. Talk to you guys later.